Hello and welcome to today's webinar in partnership with Constantia Flexibles and Haleon, hosted by Packaging Europe. Today we will take a close-up look at sustainability for pharmaceutical packaging beyond compliance and how companies can stay ahead of evolving expectations. My name is Elisabeth Skura. I'm the editor-at-large here at Packaging Europe. For those of you who are unfamiliar with Packaging Europe, we are the leading intelligence resource for packaging professionals around the world, via our website as well as online and in-person events such as the Sustainability Awards and Sustainable Packaging Summit. We deliver daily news content, authoritative comments and analysis, case studies and high-profile interviews with leading industry players, and we enable communication across the packaging value chain. So for today's webinar, I'm very pleased to welcome two expert speakers. We have Agnieszka van Batavia, who is VP Sustainability for Pharma at Constantia Flexibles. And we also have Eva Utku, who is Senior Manager Innovation and Sustainability for Packaging Procurement at Haleon. And a little bit about the two companies. Constantia Flexibles is one of the world's leading manufacturers of flexible packaging, and under the guiding principle of people, passion, packaging, the company manufactures tailor-made packaging solutions for consumer and pharma applications at multiple sites around the globe. And Haleon is a leading consumer company that specializes in everyday health with well-known brands including Sensodyne, Advil and Centrum, which serve over 1 million consumers around the globe. So in today's webinar, we'll discuss future trends shaping sustainable packaging, from circularity and low carbon materials to the adoption of 100% renewable electricity in pharma plants. And you'll gain insights into practical decarbonization strategies, including carbon pricing and innovative solutions like low carbon aluminum. And you learn how collaboration across the value chain drives meaningful impact. Our speakers will also give us an outlook on the next big steps forward towards a more sustainable pharmaceutical packaging portfolio, and will also help you to understand the implications of the PPWR for pharmaceutical packaging. And they'll explore what comes next beyond compliance. They'll identify future trends in sustainable pharmaceutical packaging and examine decarbonization strategies. So, before I hand over to speakers, just a little bit of housekeeping. There are 15 minutes at the end of this webinar reserved for a Q&A. And using the chat facility, please post your questions in the chat and I'll put them to the speakers at the end of the sessions. You can do this throughout the entire webinar and we'll try to get as many of your questions answered as possible. We also have a survey for you. Please make sure to fill it in before you leave today to let us know what you thought about this webinar. And you'll find this survey in the Forms tab on the left-hand side of your screen. And for any technical questions or issues, please select the support button, which you'll also find on the left-hand side of your screen. So with that, I'd now like to hand over to Agnieszka to get us started with her presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Elisabeth, and thank you for the opportunity to have us here together with Haleon to talk about the subject that is very important to the both of us, to both our companies. And that's the sustainability journey and the packaging sustainability beyond compliance, beyond what's necessary, beyond what we've learned from packaging waste regulation. And I always like to start with the vision of Constantia Flexibles, because we envision a world in which packaging provides people with the highest benefit and the lowest impact on environment and the society. And we believe that packaging has a vital function in the sustainable future, especially when it comes to protecting valuable resources like medicine. So how do we then transition this vision into action? Well, this is a snapshot of how our sustainability strategy looks like. And I'm not going to go through the entire slide. You see that we are publicly reporting our performance, that we are involved in the supply chain. But I really want to point out that we also have a science-based target approved greenhouse gas emission reduction target. And it's not only for the new term, but it's also our net zero commitment by 2050. And while we look at the different percentages and how we want to reduce our emission, I think it's also important to understand where our emissions are coming from. And it will not come as a surprise to those of you who are involved in sustainability that while our scope 1 and 2 constitute around 10% of our overall emissions, the majority of our greenhouse gas emissions are generated in our supply chain. So those are the materials that we buy. And that's important to understand, because at Constantia site, what we can do in our facilities, we have almost already done. In 2025, Pharma division of Constantia Flexibles is already operating on 100% renewable electricity, following our customers' requirements and our commitments. So while we are progressing very hard on our own emissions generated on sites, there's obviously a bigger challenge, and that's challenge within the supply chain. So let's have a look how the packaging sustainability in pharmaceutical world looks like. And when we talk about packaging sustainability, I always want to point out one thing, that when you look at the pharma packaging, there are very traditional considerations as to how the packaging should be designed. We all understand that the primary function of the packaging, especially pharmaceutical packaging, is the safe and secure delivery of medicine to patients. We can never jeopardize this primary function of packaging. And every time when somebody presents us with a material that they claim is sustainable, but then there are remarks and there are bots telling you, well, maybe it is very sustainable, but maybe it doesn't provide the functionality that the traditional material also provides, then in my book, this material does not qualify as sustainable. And that function is not the only thing we should look at, and that there should be we should also look for more sustainable solution has become very clear. Our customers are telling us that there is no healthy people without healthy planet, that we need to make sure that the materials we manufacture, the materials we supply them with, have the lowest potential impact on the planet. And this is where our definition of sustainable packaging has been derived from. Because when we boil down all the requirements of packaging, we believe that sustainable packaging is all about reducing the negative impact on the people and planet while maintaining the necessary packaging function. And especially this function element is very important in here. But when we talk about reducing the impact on the planet, how do we do that? Well, we start with understanding what this impact actually is. And therefore, we use the system thinking approach, and we specifically look at the life cycle of a pharma pack that goes from the extraction of the raw materials through manufacturing of the substrates that we then, as Constantia Flexibles, buy and convert into packaging materials that we supply our customers with, who then pack the medicines, transport them all over the world for us, consumers and patients, to use. And then there's obviously the end of life. And for those who are not familiar with the methodology, life cycle assessment is a scientific method for identifying materials, energy, waste, and emissions during the entire life cycle of a product. And it's a complex and it's a difficult and time-consuming and resource-consuming practice. However, we also found out that this practice is providing us with a blueprint as to how pragmatically look at reducing the impact of packaging. Because if we looked at the materials and energy, we can classify them as resources. And when we look at waste and emissions, those are losses to the system that should be avoided. And once we take this pragmatic approach, we suddenly realize that reducing environmental impact, which basically is the negative consequences of human activity, can be done with very little resources and a lot of commitment and pragmatic force. So how did we do it? So how did we put it in practice? I think one of the best examples of how this pragmatic and very logical approach to sustainability works is our life cycle driven strategies for redesigning the traditional cold forming foils. In our portfolio, this cold forming foil is called regular, and it's a typical material that consists of, let's say, raw materials like aluminum and polymers. In this particular case, this is a cold forming foil with PVC sealing layer. And then obviously we also have energy. So if we look at it like this, how do we make sure that we reduce the impact? Well, we look at energy. And as you just learned, part of this exercise is already completed because we operate on 100% green electricity. And then obviously, we also look at the material. And there are different circular and sustainable strategies on how to reduce the impact of the materials. And some it goes from using less to using alternative materials, possibly secondary raw materials, which when it comes to aluminium is possible even for pharmaceutical companies. But we also look down at our suppliers, down the stream, and we also look into materials manufactured with renewable energy. And when we combine all those strategies together, that's how our regular cold forming foil has been developed. Not only did we remove PVC from the structure, but we also have increased the material recovery. We improved sorting and recycling, and I'm very happy to say that in a recent Veolia test, we achieved 88% of sorting efficiency for regular circ going straight into the rigid aluminium recycling stream. And we did it without compromising the performance or the functionality. On the contrary, actually, this more sustainable material actually had improved the technical functionality of the cold forming foil. Not only does it run flatter on the sealing machines, which allows to cut waste and improve efficiency, but it also actually increases the barrier. And it increases the barrier because we reduce the cross permeation from the sealing edge by changing the polymer and reducing the gap between the two aluminum foils. But that's not all. We have looked at the material that has the highest impact and ask ourselves, okay, so what else can we do? And that's when the low carbon aluminum comes into play. As some of you might know, the biggest hotspot in aluminum manufacturing process is the electrolysis. And currently, there is a possibility to acquire aluminum, primary aluminum, manufactured solely with green electricity. And when we combine this material with recycled content, the footprint can even further be reduced. And I get this question a lot. So you're changing the material. How does it look for the pharmaceutical company? Well, we've listened to our customers because we know that one of the things that is really perceived as the biggest challenge in pharma is a change. So with our low carbon aluminum solution, there is no change to the technical specification. You don't need to requalify your material. You don't need to run stability tests. You don't need to revise your drug master file. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to do anything. All work has been done for you. What you do get is your instant reduction of Scope 3 greenhouse gas emissions. You can directly contribute to your company's net zero target. And we know that majority of the pharmaceutical industry has one. And you immediately reduce your carbon cost if internal carbon pricing has been adopted, like I think Eva will explain a little bit later. And how is it possible that with all these benefits, you don't have to do anything? Well, it's possible because our low carbon aluminum comes with a mass balance system. And this mass balance system, in combination with verified carbon footprint, has been validated by a third party. And because it is validated by a third party, we can guarantee your footprint reduction, and we can also trace and document the entire life cycle of a product and help you with your decarbonization targets. And obviously, when we talk about low carbon aluminum, the next big things are the low carbon polymers, because as we just saw, cold forming foil contains also polymers. And that's also the next part of the challenge, where we look at polymers that are manufactured with biofeedstock, from second or third generation that are manufactured through chemical recycling, where low carbon processes have been deployed. And again, where mass balance system allows the pharmaceutical companies to implement these measures without any significant changes into their registration and stability testing. And we had looked at what the potential is. And when we departing from the traditional cord-forming folies with PVC sealing layer, and when we implement all the improvements, all the reduction strategy that I just described, we are arriving at more than 50% carbon footprint reduction, of which 40% is provides pharmaceutical companies with absolutely no change. So they don't. So you as a pharmaceutical customer doesn't have to do anything. The work is done for you. And this is just an example at how Constantia is developing new materials and how we think beyond PPWR, beyond recyclability and beyond the mandatory regulatory requirements, because we believe that if we all want to achieve the targets and we want to decarbonize our supply chain, that's the only way to go. And we don't stop just at our cold forming foils. We obviously have also thought about how to make sure that laminates have a more sustainable alternative in the form of our PPWR family with mono PP laminates. And we also are exploring the mono blister material leading films. And if you have any questions about our more sustainable solutions, please don't hesitate to reach out. And with that, on that note, I would like to hand over to Eva so that she can tell you how the decarbonization efforts of a supplier help a customer fulfill their requirements. Eva, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Hello. Hello there, everybody. Thank you very much for inviting me today. As Liz was saying, I'm part of procurement, sustainability and innovation packaging team at Haleon. As such, we are in charge of all environmental and sustainability programs within procurement. So that's principally around decarbonization, sustainable sourcing, and then making our packaging more recyclable. And we are taking out the plastics, so virgin petroleum-based plastic projects we are also trying to support. I will present the sustainability targets and our agenda, but for today, let's start. Let me just make sure that everybody understands who Haleon is and repeat a few things from Liz's intro. As we are relatively a new company, we were part of GSK until a couple of years ago, and we are a consumer healthcare spin-off from GSK with brands that I hope some of you recognize on the bottom of the slide. And our purpose of the business is to deliver better everyday health with humanity. We are trying to make our products inclusive to all countries and capabilities. Our main categories, so later on you will understand better our sectors, it's around oral health, so Sensodyne, Aquafresh and Parodontax, well-known brands, pain relief, so Panadol, Advil, or respiratory like Otrivin, vitamins sent from our, let's say, key portfolio. Another few numbers just to show that we are a bit global, it's that we are having 24 factories all over the world and more than 200 CMOs, so external manufacturing. So this is about us in numbers, and definitely this kind of mission also relates very much to sustainability agenda. We have made, as we launched 3 years ago, very strong commitment to climate and sustainability. And I'm showing on the screen our targets. First of all, we committed to get to net zero on our scope 1 and 2. Then the second is we committed to reduce our scope 3 by 42% on source to sell by 2030. And we are aiming to net zero source to sell by 2040. align with the guideline from the climate pledge and race to zero. We cannot forget about the next two ones, which is related to making our packaging more sustainable. And here we are talking about the virgin petroleum-based plastic reduction. Our target was to reduce 10% by 2025 with the baseline 2022, and more to come by 2030, where we want to reduce by 1/3 our plastic. The next one, and here we are cooperating a lot, as you have seen, Constantia targets, and where they are trying to support the sustainability. It's around the recycled ready materials. So this is what we are trying to develop, but as Agnieszka mentioned, wherever safety, quality, and regulatory permits. And the last sustainability, but not the least, target is that Haleon committed to sustainable sourcing for all our key agricultural, forest, and marine sourced materials by 2030, and we are also progressing a lot in that field. So hope you agree that this target is fairly ambitious targets. And in particular on the scope 3. I suspect this audience to know that this is really, really difficult journey. Over the last years, we have really upped our game with regards to the way we are approaching our suppliers. So we have launched the program. And just let me change the slide. We call it Haleon Sustainable Supply Chain Program. So this is our climate pledge. I'm going to take you through this wide approach on how we launch our decarbonization program to our supplier chain, and how we are intensifying the delivery against those asks with our carbon pricing. You have seen the numbers of Constantia. Ours are a bit different, but also like 70% of Haleon carbon footprint is under the stewardship of procurement, so coming from the things which we are buying. So it's absolutely key for the procurement. It's totally engaged in the way we do this, and our suppliers are engaged in all this process. Just a couple thoughts. Where we think about this approach. First of all, we have to focus. So Haleon, to give one number, has around 16,000 suppliers. So it's clearly impossible to focus on those. So we decided to go to our top emitting categories. Which in these things like direct materials, and we want to focus on the suppliers with whom our spend is over £1 million. And that's end up on around 400 suppliers being on our target list. On to those, we put the climate pledge. We ask our suppliers to sign into that, again, just to top 400 suppliers. And then let's go into the details. As you can see, it has 5 elements to it. First is around data collection. So we are calling this baselining. We ask our suppliers to provide a product carbon footprint. You also have heard that in Agnieszka's speech, that they are preparing the full assessment, the LCA assessment, and this is the exactly thing which we are looking at for our suppliers. The second is around, we ask everybody to sign to science-based target initiative, which we recognize that as a bit tough ask, as they cannot do it to regards only to Haleon business. It needs to be corporate, but this is our target. The third one is around the renewables, and we see it as a long-hanging fruit. I will try to show some calculation later on. It is relatively inexpensive, and if you are going to the power purchase agreements, It can even save you money versus the normal electricity bills. As you can see, Constantia is already there with the 100%. What we are asking our suppliers, so we are asking our suppliers to be 100% RE this year, but we need to remember, or let me highlight, our definition of renewables can include nuclear energy, where we are saying everything that can get you below 0.1 ton of CO2 per megawatt hour is acceptable. Then comes to the roadmap. And that also was highlighted in Agnieszka, so you can see really the cooperation works and expectations. So at this stage, we ask our suppliers to start mapping out their journey to net zero. Very often companies say, yeah, we have a great program, we are doing this and that. But when we are really going deeper, you find out that actually it can deliver only 5, 10, maybe 15% of the carbon reduction. We are asking our suppliers to look at the elements of their emissions. Broadly speaking, we don't expect like 100 items, but rather the top significant sources. Then understand how you can address those and the potential cost of how much it will cost to do this. We can start to map out the journey over the next 15 years as we committed the net zero by 2040, and we can then decide together in the proper time to action each of those steps. But it has to be showing a transparency of all those elements. And actually, the last, but definitely not the least, as I mentioned, we got 70% of emission within scope 3. This is probably similar to the suppliers, or we see even somebody has higher range. So program will complete with ours when the suppliers will cascade this into their supply chain. It doesn't mean that it needs to be the same program, but decarbonization program is the key component to that. And right now, let me share with you a short, around 2 minutes video around that program to summarize what I have said and another few.
As a global leader in consumer health, we're working to build more sustainable processes for future generations. By 2030, we aim to reduce our Scope 1 and 2 emissions from activities within our operational control by an absolute 95%, compared with our 2020 baseline. And we're already more than halfway there. But emissions generated by the goods and services we buy and use, or Scope 3 emissions, are hugely important too. In fact, they account for more than 70% of total emissions. As part of our supply chain, we want to work with you to have a tangible impact on emissions. That's why we launched our Sustainable Supply Chain Pledge. Committing to these 5 simple steps will not only help the planet, but could also benefit your bottom line. In 2024, we launched carbon pricing for tenders to incentivize action. This means we don't just look at the material cost, but the environmental cost too, giving suppliers a financial incentive to reduce their emissions. This helps committed partners get the recognition and business they deserve. We've tendered more than £350 million of business using carbon pricing, and overall, we've reduced emissions by 219,000 tons of CO2e, equivalent to 10% reduction of our Scope 3 emissions since 2022. Aligned to guidance from the Climate Pledge and Race to Zero, our long-term aim is to achieve net zero carbon emissions from source to sale by 2040. We want to share what we learn along the way, so you can achieve a similar ambition. We're proud to have more than 50 businesses signed up, cutting their emissions and building their competitive advantage. Are you ready to join them? Sign up to the pledge today.
Hope you have seen Constantia. They have signed the pledge, another 50 of the suppliers. So we are very happy that our suppliers are following our agenda. The next slide is around our decarbonization plan, just to show you what is our plan at least by 2030. I will, as I said, I will not spend a lot of time over here, but last year it was the foundation, so we launched our pledge, the carbon pricing, which I will explain in a second. And this year we focus on renewable electricity with our suppliers, and the following years, as you can see, the green heat, medium temperatures, and so on and so forth, closing the gap by 2030. So happy with that plan, and hopefully we will see the progress as such. As we believe that our climate pledge will enable our suppliers to get started the journey and make strong commitment, and if they do those things, we will reward them in the way in which we are conducting our tenders. And I will then let's try to say, like, we will give them opportunity to grow the business and earn more business with us. So I want to jump to the second very important tool which we are using right now at Haleon. It's around carbon pricing. So what is carbon pricing? It's a way to assign the monetary value to the carbon emission of a business making decision. At the high level, I will try to explain how those mechanism of carbon pricing works. So let's go to the next slide. And so first of all, when we are going to tender, we are asking our suppliers to tell us what would be the product carbon footprint associated with the scope of tender. So, for example, if they are doing cartons, what is the carbon footprint per ton of cartons which you are providing to us? And we will multiply that by how many tons of cartons we are buying per year. And then we will use the total emission associated with the scope of business. And then we will multiply that by the European Union emission trading scheme of carbon, which right now is approximately on the level of 80 euro per ton of CO2. So you can find on the white piece of our slide a small example where we made a tender with it's a proposal for 3 suppliers. And the supplier has submitted the price. So this is in the line, first line. But then we are calculating what is the carbon associated with this tender. So for the supplier number 1, they will produce the emission would be 700 tons, for the supplier 2 500 tons, and for the supplier 3 600 tons. This exercise has been done a few months ago, where the price of the carbon was 70 euro per ton. So then we see the carbon pricing per supplier is 49 and so on. So the most important is that we need to understand that those 2 components together, so supplier price plus carbon price, become a total cost of ownership. And as you can see, this mechanism we are locking together. It's not something that came with the weighting. It's locked together with the price. We are getting a lot of questions. So the second point which I would like to share over here is that if the supplier is unable to provide the product carbon footprint to the requested standard, We do not want them to be excluded from the tender. However, we want to send a clear message that we expect everybody to provide a carbon footprint, and we inform supplier in advance how we will assess them during any tendering process. So if they don't provide, cannot provide a product carbon footprint, we will apply industry average emission factor plus 50%. So I hope you see that this additional 50% ask as a slightly penalty to the ones who are not providing a PCF for us. So this is about carbon pricing, and I said that I will say a few words about the renewable electricity, the long-hanging fruit. So suppose how this incentive work. I tried to provide this with the calculation for 3 regions. So let's consider that suppose the supplier used renewable electricity to reduce emissions, effectively lowering down the carbon footprint of their operation. That's reality. This lower carbon pricing translates directly to reduce the carbon cost, which means lower total cost, following what I have presented before. So as you can find on the table on the right corner, we have made the calculation for 3 different regions. The cost per of renewable electricity, as we all know, is different per region. Emission grid we can find, this is official information. So we calculated the cost of carbon using renewable electricity by dividing the cost of RE per grid emission factor. In net, we are getting the cost of carbon using RE in the column number 3 on the level of 0.70 euro per ton of CO2 for China and 20 euro for UK market. Taking into consideration what I have said before, that European ETS price is around 80 euro per ton, then the potential carbon cost advantage is on the level of 79.25 or 60 euro for US market. So I hope this is clear for our suppliers, how we are calculating this and how we are trying to intensify the work on those levers. So the last slide related to carbon pricing, it's around what I was trying to tell to you. I hope it was clear that this mechanism intensified decarbonization, so one company compared to the other, and encourage to proper baselining. We are getting more and more PCFs to our baseline, having like clear emissions related to our to Haleon. Shortly, how would we be doing after, and what first, what next? This is like general information about the abatement cost per initiative. This is euro per ton of CO2. So what you can find over here, definitely this is the directions which we would like to implement as first. Renewable electricity, all about aluminium, low carbon aluminium. This is what we are working right now. And slowly we hope that the high cost will reduce over the time, and trying to build the roadmap with the suppliers when do we need to implement each of the abatement levers to achieve our decarbonization. I just want to say that we are not leaving our companies like asking you need to do this and that, and we have this target we need to deliver. We are trying to help. So we have few partnerships. We are sharing the knowledge, but giving also opportunities to cooperate with the companies like Energize. We are a sponsor of Energize program, so they are providing trainings, access to RECs, cohorts to VPPAs, very, very important part of the decarbonization journey now. The decarbonization journey now. So one of the help which we are offering to our suppliers, similar when we are talking about the green heat, is with the Johnson controls. And as I mentioned, we are trying to get primary data. So Constantia has their own tool providing the full life cycle assessment. The one who doesn't have, they can cooperate with M2030, get the support how to build the PCF, and use their tool to deliver the PCF to Haleon. So I think we can finalize the discussion about the carbon. Let me see what would be the question from your side. As we are together with talking a lot about the packaging today, so I will just highlight a few things regarding sustainability and where we are and what was our latest focus and achievements. So this is what we are asking our suppliers. It's clear you saw our targets. Carbon reduction, virgin petroleum-based plastic reduction, recyclability, and sustainable paper sourcing. 4 main tasks to packaging suppliers, and few examples of what we were working on, what is our achievements, and where we would like to focus more. So definitely with the virgin petroleum-based plastic, very nice project, 70 million toothbrush cups in Europe. We converted from the petroleum-based to non-virgin petroleum-based to bio-based resins. Around 2,000 tons of virgin plastic has been reduced with that initiative. And also all over the world, a similar project has been done, and I can bring some numbers if somebody is interested. The next point is around definitely recyclability. Over there, we are here mostly talking about the materials who are like the multi-layer materials or materials with aluminum. So we moved from ABL to PBL, so from aluminum protected layer to plastic full structure. And this success we are finalizing with the toothpaste tubes, and working right now closely with our suppliers on that journey for sachets, stick packs, and other categories. So I think that's mainly the things which I wanted to share today with you. Over back to Liz, and I hope Agnieszka will come as well to our...
Yes, thank you very much, Eva and Agnieszka, as well, for your presentations and for sharing your insights today. So yeah, like you mentioned, it's now time for the Q&A section of this webinar. We've already had lots of questions in, but keep them coming if we don't get the chance to answer your question during the webinar. Yeah, I'm sure our speakers will be happy to answer you later as well and follow up with you. So let's start with this question. Somebody's asked us, for which products is low carbon aluminum available?
Well, it's quite simple. Every pharmaceutical packaging format that contains aluminum is eligible for the low carbon aluminum application. So there is no limitation there.
Perfect. Quick and concise answer. Related to the aluminum, somebody else asked us, can Constantia use recycled aluminum in the cold form material?
Well, this is currently under investigation. We are under development. We have a project running for experimenting with the percentage of recycled content, but we are confident that we will get there. Yes.
Thank you. And let's see what else we have here. Yes, we have a question for Eva as well. What progress has Haleon's supply chain made in renewable energy transformation?
Oh, good question. Thank you very much. So, as you have seen, this was a focus for this year. We engaged our suppliers, the top 400 suppliers, with renewable electricity survey. We got very good response, and so far, the result is around 110,000 tons of CO2 saving. So that's where we are proud of, and yeah.
Great, thank you. Yes, somebody else is asking us, how will you ensure that the proposed alternatives provide the same barrier performance and stability as PVC in cold form applications?
Well, thank you, Elizabeth. I really like this question, because it might come as a surprise to some of the person in the audience, but actually when it comes to water vapor, which is the critical barrier in pharmaceutical packaging, PVC doesn't do that such a great job. So by removing 60 micron PVC film and replacing it with 40 or 25 micron HDPE film, we are actually improving the barrier. For two reasons. We are talking about cold forming foil, so the total barrier blister. And the only barrier breach, as you could call it, is through the sealing layer. And what we are doing, we are reducing the thickness of the sealing layer, and we are replacing the sealing polymer with a polymer that actually has a higher barrier. Because when you compare PVC and HDPE films, the HDPE exhibits better water vapor barrier. So we not only assuring the same functionality, the same barrier, we're actually improving it.
That sounds good, thank you. Okay, yes, we had another question. How does Haleon accept carbon offsets in PCF calculations?
Thank you very much. Very detailed question. So offset, Haleon, let's be straight. Haleon does not accept carbon offsets in PCFs. Why? First, it's around a science-based target initiative compliance. So Haleon climate goals, this 40% reduction of scope 3 net zero to 2040, we validated by SBTi, which exclude offset from near-term targets. So that's the first reason. The second, which I think those two are the most important, is focus on the real emission reduction is super important. So our company prioritized the decarbonization at the source, like renewable electricity and so on, rather than compensating through offsets.
Great, thank you. Okay, so we have a very popular question here. How will you ensure that the proposed alternatives provide the same barrier performance and stability as PVC in cold form applications?
Well, I think part of the question has maybe already been answered. Or, well, we explained that actually there is no barrier degradation. There's actually a barrier improvement. So when we talk about stability and we talk about the protection of the efficacy of the drug, we are actually also improving this. So while we are not able to execute stability testing, because that obviously has to be done on each particular medicinal product specifically, we are very confident that with this new material, the stability will actually improve. So there are already projects that will bring this material to the market, and we are very excited about the results our customers are getting.
Great, thank you. All right, let's see. Yes, somebody else is asking us, what is the substitute of PVC for cold form blister? I think that's related to a previous question, but I thought I'd ask it anyway.
Yes, exactly. It very much depends on the type of drug and type of oral dose you want to pack. we have talked about HDPE. That's one of the substitutions. We also, for specific applications, there is also polypropylene as a sealing layer available.
Thank you. And somebody else is asking us, are the barrier properties of PE strong enough for pharma?
Well, I understand where this question is coming from, because obviously when we talk about laminates and when we talk about the full plastic structures, that's I would say, a challenge. However, we're talking here about a full total barrier blister from aluminium, where, as we explained, there is just a small ingress of water through the sealing edge, and for this kind of applications, PE works perfectly.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, somebody else is asking us, how is Haleon communicating expectations to the supplier?
Oh, amazing question. Thank you for that. Yeah, the journey is difficult. There are many tasks, and I think we are very proud. But first, what I would like to highlight, that we launched the supplier sustainability guidelines document, which all our commodity managers they have shared with the suppliers. We are sharing the expectation during the meetings, but everything is combined over there and launched externally, so all our suppliers can look at this document and find our expectations.
Great, thank you. And yeah, we have a comment, not a question, just somebody saying, ladies, great presentations.
Oh, thank you.
So yes, I thought I'd share that with you. Okay. Yes, somebody else is asking, is cold forming blister recyclable?
Oh, I love this question. I love this question because actually, not every cold forming blister can be considered recyclable. And also that's one of the reasons why we developed regular circ. I mean, the circ in the name kind of gives you a hint of where we were aiming at. Because of the PVC and quite thick PVC layer in the existing cold forming applications, this would not be considered recyclable because of the high chlorine content. However, we are removing the chlorine. We are removing PVC. We are increasing aluminum content, not only by removing the polymers or reducing the polymer content, but in some applications, we are also slightly increasing the thickness of the aluminum itself. And as I also explained during the webinar, we have already performed sorting tests to make sure that once the blisters are discarded, they are also sorted out into the right waste stream. And you need to understand that this test was done on the actual blisters that were manipulated and made look used. So there were people really crushing blister and putting tablets out of the blister to make them look, to make it a real live test. And then they were mixed with domestic waste in a large scale sorting installations, and were then sorted out into the aluminum waste stream. And 88% of the blisters, and actually it is 100% of the blisters that did not get sorted out because of the size, were recognized and sorted out into the aluminum waste stream. And once the blister enters this aluminum waste stream, the aluminum gets recycled, and again, here also we benefit from the lower polymer content and higher material recovery in aluminum. So yes, those blisters have a very good circular potential. Yeah,
that's great to hear. Thank you. Somebody else is asking us, for blisters, which material is more optimized to be the material of choice when moving to monomaterial structures? Is it polyolefins or PET?
I think there is no straight answer to that, because first we need to remember what was presented on Agnieszka's. Maybe I did not go through that, but the most important that we have some special requirements for barrier properties. So then that's the first one. We cannot go with PET wherever we need a high barrier solution. So there are many factors which we have to consider, the environmental impact, the production, and so on and so forth, and then apply the best solution to that.
I fully agree with Eva. There are different alternatives. We have indeed polyethylene, polypropylene, and PET as potential materials, but there will not be one silver bullet. Depending on the process, on the required barrier and other properties of the material, also depending on what type of oral dose is packed, there will be different choices that will be the best in particular cases. So I don't think we can pinpoint a specific one and name it the winner of it all.
That makes sense. Thank you. Okay, yeah, I think we've got time for a couple more questions. We have a question. How about the sealing strength comparison between HDPE and PVC?
Oh, this is a very technical question, so I'm not going to talk about bond strength and any other numbers, but I can tell, and I'm not a technical person, so you need to forgive me for not being too detailed on the answer, but from what we have tested internally, and you can be assured that our testing facilities are dedicated and specialized in cold forming foils and other blister materials, we have positive results. We have no reasons of doubt as to the performance of the blister. So I can't compare those two strengths, but I know that that HDPE performs like it should in the situation, in the packing situation. So no concerns there.
Great. And yes, somebody else asked, what about first generation bio feedstock?
Well, as maybe just a small explanation about what the first generation really is. Those would be the crops that are specifically harvest for the purpose of making materials out of them. So we talk about the primary feedstock like corn, maize, or this kind of plants. I think it's by now we all understood that while this was necessary in order to start developing bio-based materials, this might not be the best sustainable option when it comes to a plastic feedstock. And following also several of our customer commitments, we have, and looking also into what's available in the market, we strongly believe that the second and third generation feedstock would provide us with the sustainability benefits that we are looking for.
Great, thank you. Yeah, somebody else is asking us, how is the aluminium recycled from the cold form packaging due to the presence of polymer components?
Well, it can go through different processes. It can go through a pyrolysis process where the plastic content is incinerated and the aluminium material recovered. But we have also conducted tests when the aluminium from conforming foil is fed into the standard aluminium recycling process. And we need to also understand recycling aluminium is basically burning stuff at a very high temperature. So regardless of what type of aluminium material it is, it's always being burned. And then in this process, all impurities, all polymers and organic matter gets incinerated and the aluminium remains. And there are some oxidation losses, of course, but the thicker the aluminium and the lower the polymer content, the lower the oxidation losses as well. This is something we also have been thinking about when we're designing this new material.
Great, thank you. And yeah, I think we'll wrap it up with one more question for Eva. Is Haleon working on any strategy to share the carbon footprint or sustainability information on the products that the consumers can access when they buy?
Sorry, could you please repeat?
Yeah, is Haleon working on any strategy to share the carbon footprint or sustainability information on the products that the consumers can then access when they buy?
I will back to that with the answer to that question. I know there is some work behind that, but me from the procurement, I'm not so much involved, so let me take it separately and try to back to the person who asked the question.
Yes, great, thank you. Okay, I think that's all we've got time for today. Thank you everybody for joining us today, and yeah, don't worry if we didn't get a chance to answer your question today. Our speakers will be happy to follow up with you after the webinar. And yeah, this webinar will be available on demand within the next couple of days, and you'll be sent a link to access it in case you want to recap on anything you've seen today. And yeah, I'd also like to remind you to fill in the survey before you leave. So yeah, that just leaves me to thank our speakers, Agnieszka van Batavia and Eva Utko. And yeah, thank you very much. Have a good rest.